Hey, this is Jim Craddock, and today is Thursday, February 27th, 2025. And let's just admit it, I am very lucky to be alive. Uh, I I'm not exactly sure what I want to talk about today because I got a couple things on my mind. I've been through a lot in the last month. I think my last couple recordings have probably made that obvious. Uh, the most recent changes have had to do with, as usual, bodily functions. Let's just put it that way. But I've enjoyed the changes I made since basically, I guess whenever it was, sometime beginning of this month or so. I just kind of decided I was just going to eat whatever I want and do whatever I want. And I think that may be speeding things up a little bit, but at the same time, it's just so freeing to be able to just say, you know what, I'm just gonna eat a whole bunch of chips. And I know that the salts are building up on my body and I'm not getting rid of them, but that honestly, the chips taste good and I don't give a shit. And you know what? I'm going to eat some cookies and I realize that the sugars are building up in my body and the same thing. And that's just how it goes. And so I guess I want to talk a little bit about one thing. I just want to say, I am so lucky to be alive. I mean, in 1995, I would have died if I had not found some article in some book that I have never been able to find again, and that not even Grok 3. Like, I have these discussions with Grok 3, and it's like, oh, let's try to figure out what book this is, and it'll say, oh, the Merck manual has stuff like that. Maybe that's it. And no, that we haven't found it. But anyway, I found a treatment that they used for people with a condition similar to mine while I was literally in a mental institution from the effects that the condition was having on me. It was making me unable to think. My eyes were completely dilated. I couldn't sleep. I was manic. And I found a treatment. It worked within 30 minutes, an hour of me implementing the treatment after being in that place for days. And it added well, almost 30 years to my life. Let's look at that. I mean, I can't argue with that as that there's anything bad about any of that. The bad thing is that science chose medicine chose to hide the science. And because of that, I'm left with this condition that no doctor's ever heard of. And it is so beyond the pale of general understanding of human physiology because of the way the candidiasis reacts with your pituitary to completely change your system, that it would be like speaking a different language to a doctor. My body is literally just doing things in different ways. And interestingly, the article said, that once this was initiated, basically their body, that the person's body just goes into moving electrolytes around for the next 30 years. That's literally how it's generating its ATP. That with the candidiasis, that that it's literally say potassium builds up here, and then because that happens, this other thing happens, and then potassium drains out, and then you go into these other phases. And when you're in the phases that I'm in right now, it's literally electrolytes basically, building up in your abdominal cavity. So if you think about what happens there, it's like the more they can build up in there, okay, the more the okay, so let me get this right. So as the electrolytes get thicker and thicker outside of the abdomen, okay, what it causes is the flesh of the intestines, okay, to swell, with edema. Until at some point, okay, one side breaks, and I'm pretty sure it's the internal side. Okay. And so now then you've got kind of this water that drains in there. It keeps things moving. Meanwhile, it's just getting more concentrated on the outside. And as that happens, these salts then build up enough until they start moving into your muscles of your back and your abdomen. And that's where I'm at right now. And that's what I wanted to talk about because in that article it talked about, and I never, I mean, it's difficult to kind of put it all together, but it talked about how they would be going through this phase where they had these big feasts. And I will agree, this is how I feel right now. I've gone from not feeling hungry to every evening now, I feel like I could eat like everything. Uh, and and it talked about how they would get into this phase where they would have basically an unending appetite, okay, and they would have to sit up super straight at the table because if they lean sideways, the muscles no longer supported their spine and their ribs and everything, and it hurts. And I can tell you, I just within the last 3 days, I have got to this point where when I start to move, I feel this. I mean, it just is like this like things aren't being supported in my spine and in my ribs and things, and it hurts. And it's, I mean, it's not severe yet, but I know that if I'm just a few days into this new difference, okay, that it's going to continue getting worse. And I, there's parts of the article where I can remember things that they talked about, and I don't exactly remember like how the person got to that point or whatever, and there were different ways that people could end up passing away from this, but because it depended on like if they kept drinking. So if you keep drinking just fluids in general, that causes things to be one way. And then if you drink alcohol, that causes things to be another way. If you continue drinking alcohol, because you can get to the point where that's basically all your calories. But these and those people were like they were called toads, and they were in these tanks. I think the people that were like me, okay, who continue eating and drinking, so this weakness will persist and it will get worse. And these people, they they could no longer sit up straight. And it talked about how they left them lying outside, and I don't know why. And they would just be moaning in pain all the time, uh, and that doesn't sound great, does it? So I don't know, I don't know what the future brings. And if that's what it brings, I'm not going to be very happy about it. But at the same time, 30 years is a long time. So, everybody has to go some way. And, I have a relative right now who has been diagnosed with cancer. In fact, I have two relatives, they're both in-laws, but who have had cancer issues. And the one has stage 4 cancer, and it's very difficult for everyone. And it's brand new diagnosed, and everybody confronts their mortality in life at some point. And maybe it's in a split second before your airplane crashes, and maybe it's a prolonged illness. Uh, um, and, and there's obviously everywhere in between. But everybody confronts their mortality, and uh, it's a part of life. And it is a difficult part. I've confronted mine for decades, literally decades, from that first moment when I had to implement that treatment. Okay, I was confronting my mortality, and I didn't want to die, and I was willing to do anything and try anything and endure anything in order to extend my life. And I don't want to be religious because I'm not religious. And I did pray, and I was like, just give me a solution. And I found a solution, and I don't know what to do with that. That is really weird, isn't it? Because I found a solution that doesn't exist according to everybody else. Uh, so I don't know. That's a little bit confusing for me and my kind of agnosticism. Uh, but uh, everybody confronts mortality, and I've been confronting mine for a while. And I I just I'm just going to keep pushing. And yeah, it may get to the point where I can't sit up anymore, and I don't know what we'll do. I don't know what we'll do because I don't want to go to a physician because I don't think that they can find anything, and I know that they can make things worse, and they can literally kill me by just doing some very normal things. So I I I don't know how we will proceed. All I know is that I am going to persevere and get up each day and document changes and live my life and try to make it as normal for everybody in it and enjoy today. That's literally what my password has been for almost the last year, is a form of enjoy today. And and because I have to type it in every day, and it's my way of saying, okay, screw it. I know that life sucks, but find a way to find something about today that is enjoyable, and make it as enjoyable as you can for everybody else. And uh, and I've had some really hard days. I mean, some really difficult days. But at the same time, I've enjoyed a lot of the things that I've done and been able to do, and so maybe that's helping. I don't know. Uh, but anyway, this is a significant change in my physical condition. I will say that the other things have also changed. So within the last couple of weeks, I've been having a, a certain issue. I'm not going to go into it, and that has now shifted into uh, uh, yeah, it's really hard to do this without getting into gross stuff that you don't want to hear. But all I could say is that one of the central effects of this condition over the last 30 years has been intermittent changes in bowel habits that were very significant. uh, and they run the gamut of everything that you could think of that could change about your bowel habit. Okay. And they were very far apart in the beginning, okay, years, decade before a change, okay. And now all these changes that I've been experiencing, for the last 3 years have kind of come faster and faster. And I a year and a half ago, it hit my muscles in my arms and things and made them stiff. And that took about 6 months to kind of clear up. And then after that, I immediately started having abdominal pain issues. And that basically has kind of persisted, but with things changing. And then after that, I had uh, bowel issues and things like that. And then, here we just in the last 3 weeks, so many things have changed very quickly. And uh, it's just a very bizarre condition, as your body, it kind of it runs out of ways to compensate for whatever it's compensating for right now, and then it hits a limit, and then a combination of the candidiasis and or the just your body saying, okay, here's what we can do next. Here's basically the next step in the Rube Goldberg, uh, and you go into that, and you deal with it. And I my mind is all still here. I have had periods where it's difficult to think, and especially right before this major transition 3 years ago. Now I have many months where I just couldn't focus or couldn't write code and stuff. But ever since the back pressure in the inferior vena cava was released, uh, all the thinking ability pretty much returned. Uh, Occasionally I forget words and stuff, but I'm also 55, so maybe there's some layering on there. I don't know, but I guess that's it for today. I just it's I feel blessed. Every week I have to move all these emails that I have scheduled, all these videos that I have scheduled, and right now I just move them one more week because honestly, it I I don't know what the next week is going to bring. And it's a pain in the ass. I have 100 emails and I don't have to move them all. Typically, I move probably 50 or 60 of them because a lot of them are even further out in the future, so I don't have to move those. But and then I have, like 60 videos, and I just have to reschedule those by date. And then I've got some Twitter posts that I have to reschedule and stuff. So it's it's a lot, but it's totally worth it because I am trying to document this thing for science, and at the same time I'm trying to communicate to my family a lot of things that I can only communicate if they accept that I'm going away. And I don't think anybody accepts that I'm going away, and that's fine because I've got this other way of communicating to them. And I think there will come a day, maybe, when people cannot deny that there's something drastically wrong, especially if this inability to sit up gets worse. It talked in the article. After it said that they would go through a period of of hunger, basically where they just had bottomless appetite and then bottomless thirst. Okay. And the bottomless thirst I know is going to be from burning in my abdomen, and I am totally not looking forward to that. Uh, and I'm not going to drink a whole lot when that comes because I know there's things there. So and I'm also taking fluconazole, so I don't know if that's impacting things. Uh, anyway, I'm just trying to do the best I can, going day to day, documenting as I go along, and and trying to find things to enjoy. So I think I gotta go. No, I don't. Uh, anyway, it's been a very long journey, and I think by documenting all these things, people hopefully will will see that, okay, yeah, Jim wasn't making up all this stuff. Now, with these videos that you can feed through AI and get summaries and everything else, that we can see this change in symptoms over time. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's really changed recently. I mean, there's a lot of weird things about this condition, and it talks about how, it makes your skin pull tight, and your you're sticky salts and apoptifying all your cells, and so, like, vestigial toenails, which is something that was mentioned in the article, and you're like, so what the hell does that mean? I can tell you what that means, and I've said it before, but it means that I can reach down and rip a toenail in half, and no big deal. Because they're not they're not like they should be. Uh, they're not healthy. Anyway, it's just a bizarre set of things that I'm going through, and there's no way to sit down and communicate all this to a physician with the way they work, and they got to check their boxes and everything, and there's nothing they can do anyway. So, I got to go to Old Man Band this week. I think I might record a song later today. I don't know. I kind of feel like it. Uh, I've been able to sing. I thought my voice was going to be ruined by this, and it may later, but so far it hasn't. So, I think I've lost maybe a little, like a half step or something like that, but nothing major. I'm just trying to make the most of every day and be there for my family and meet their needs, and change the fucking light bulbs on the porch and the filters, and take care of the carbon monoxide detectors, and do my normal stuff that I'm supposed to do every day. And uh, I think I'm doing okay at it so far. I mean, people could tell a difference, but I'm just honest, and I say, look, I've got this going on. My son was in town this last weekend, and I was just really honest with him, and I said, we were talking about this relative with cancer, and I said, Honestly, Will, I said, I think I'm probably more ill than they are at this point, but you can't tell. And really, that's a good thing. I think, uh, that I'm able to continue on uh, uh, so deep into this illness. So that's all I got for today. It was a long one. I know that over time these build up and they build up and things like that, but gonna go out there. I'll post this one and check all my Twitter posts that are scheduled for future, and maybe bump my YouTube ones because I'm going to have to spend some time this weekend because I can tell I'll make it to this weekend, bumping those all another week. So, hey, I love my family. For those that never believed me and I consulted for your medical opinion, uh, you know, I'm sure you know what I think of your medical opinion. Uh, so, you know, let's just say everyone can screw up, and you screwed up. All right. So that's all I got today, folks. Once again, it's February 27th. My name is Jim Craddock. I have terminal onset diabetes insipidus with candidiasis major. It is not in any medical reference that you can find in modern medical reference. It used to be in medical references, and they redacted it because it's based upon a kind of questionably ethical experiment, changes human physiology drastically, and kind of has a bad ending. So, but it at the same time saved me from this terminal condition. So, probably shouldn't be excluded from science, especially just how much it tells people about the condition.